Well, welcome. Eric Piper and I were afraid nobody would come. So we are so thrilled to see all of you coming to find out about your school board candidates and what the future will be for Elizabeth Forest School District. That's why Eric and I decided to do it. And we want to thank Stephanie Squibb for Squibbit. She donated the posters that we took around to advertise this, and that was her donation. And we have Chad Lick back there. He is live streaming this event tonight for other people that couldn't come, that they'll be able to see it. And also the commissioners who allowed Eric and I to use this building at no cost. So we really appreciated that. And just a little comment about this. This isn't political, that's why I allowed it here. And it's about faith-based. You want to just quickly?
The Elizabeth chapter of Turning Point USA is forming to create disciples, equip them with the word, and if they choose after they're equipped and they know the word and they're more rooted in God, if they want to join one of the action organizations that are all about going out and spreading the action, that is great. But ours is basically to foster faith and godly ways in our world.
Thank you. So here's a lot of information here if you're interested. And now I'm going to turn it over to Eric.
Evening, everybody. My name's Eric Piper. My family's lived in the township for probably close to 100 years. I just want to kind of go over some of the things that we sent to the candidates and what you are to expect today. Every candidate is going to have 10 to 15 minutes to talk about their vision for the school district. We ask that they not talk negative about any other candidates. We want them to focus on their vision. If they have something, we want them to list examples of, if they want to talk about transparency, how will they bring transparency? We want this to be a positive environment. We want civility, respect to be done in this whole, I think this is the whole reason why we have everybody here, is because of the way that we agreed to do it. And I just want to thank Chad again. Chad's broadcasting this so people can see it at home, but also it'll be archived, right, Chad?
Yes.
So if people can't watch it live, they're not here, they can watch it later at a later time. So I want to thank everybody who is running for coming. I appreciate it. I will ask you, these are all volunteers. This is a non-paid position that they are running for. They are hoping to help the district, and I appreciate you guys, your time and your efforts, and thank you for putting your hat in the ring, because it's a difficult environment these days. So thank you. The first person that we're going to have, it was a totally random drawing. So, sure.
And we were thinking if once they are finished with their speeches, if they would allow questions to be asked, not yelled at, hand raised, if you're all willing to do that. We will do that after they've all spoke, okay?
All right, so first up is Mr. Dan Novison.
I think that's what I'm going to stand. Hey, first of all, thanks for coming. I got involved with this a few months before the primary, and every meeting I went to, it seemed like there was fewer and fewer people showing up. So when I look out and see everyone here, I'm very thankful that you guys are actually showing that you are involved in the community. Makes me feel a little bit better that I'm doing this. It is a thankless job, and I definitely want to make a difference in the community. I'm very thankful that you guys all came tonight. My name is Dan Novosek. I'm running on a ticket with Margaret Morgan, Rick Cumming, and Jamie Evans. A little bit about myself. I've been a township resident for almost 16 years now. In that time, I've been employed by the Elizabeth Township Police Department. I know some of you guys here, some of you might know me from having K9 Eli as my partner here in the township, and being an SRO, school resource officer, over the last year, active inside the schools. And I can honestly tell you the whole time with K9 Eli and being an SRO, I've been in schools continuously trying to build up a relationship with the students and trying to make a positive impact inside our community. And I am going to speak slow because I got to fill 15 minutes here, so forgive me. And this whole time, I would like to say, my heart's really involved with this. I love the kids. I'm truly doing this for the kids. And I'd like to say, I only missed, since I started coming to meetings, I only missed 2 meetings. I'm sure everyone knows what a colonoscopy is, and I was pregnant one night, so I wasn't coming to that meeting. But the other meeting, I had a family emergency. But my heart is into it, and I've been trying to make every single meeting. I feel that it's my civic duty to do this. It is in my heart for the kids. Some of the things, if I'm elected, some of the things I would like to address. Number one and foremost is quality education for these kids. They need it. We got a great area, we got a great community. I want to see great educators, and I want to see our kids get a good education here. Also, with that being said, the arts and the sports, I'd like to see us put money into the arts and the sports, the musical instruments, and the other programs. These kids are starting to hate coming to school, and I don't want to see that. A lot of kids are starting to go to cyber school. Being an SRO, I saw the kids. It's so easy for them to just say, hey, you know what, teacher? I don't like you, I'm not coming here anymore. I'm going to cyber school. And guess what? Now we flip a higher bill for cyber school, and it's becoming a trend where I'm seeing more and more students doing it. And then I talk to these students, and the first thing out of their mouth is, I love cyber school because I only have to get on a computer for a couple hours in the morning and I'm done. And they're telling the other students. The bottom line is, our kids are going to school and they're being miserable for reasons such as we're not putting the effort back into them. We're not, the teacher retention, which I'll get into. I think it's terrible. I don't like to see these teachers disappearing after a year or 2. We need to keep the teachers we have. Happy teachers means happy kids. And I think we need to start considering that every time you vote for one of the candidates, anytime you go to school, remember, your teachers are teaching these kids. And the better rapport you have with the teachers, the better rapport they're going to have with your kids. These kids, like I spoke on, I like to make learning fun for the kids, give them a safe environment, and I think we need to invest more time into the bullying program. Stop these kids from being bullied. Once again, being an SRO at school, I see it. I see the fights that occur. I think we can form more programs doing that. Just remember, our kids are our future for tomorrow. I think their voices should be heard. I just ran into a couple kids last year. They were very highly upset about the mascot being changed, and they didn't have an opinion. No one took their opinion into account of what we're going to do with the mascot. The kids had a petition signed, at least a couple hundred people, and I thought it was a shame. The kids felt like they had no voice in the school, and I really think they should. I think we should start considering that too. Also, the taxpayers. I think the taxpayers need to start having a more of a voice when they come to the board meeting. Let them talk. There's some important things that need to be said, and sometimes they can't be said in 3 minutes. I think we need to take into account that these people need to be able to share stuff. Our teachers, I truly think they're the backbone of the school. I think we need to start taking care of our teachers. Like I spoke about the retention problem. We have teachers leaving. I think we need to investigate and find out what's going on here and start taking care of this problem. The taxpayers, we're putting money and providing professional development for our teachers. It is being wasted when the teachers leave for another school district. We just wasted all that money that we sunk into a teacher. It's gone because we can't retain them here. And it's sad. This is also hurting the students. The students are feeling this. They're not getting a good education because we're going through teachers. And I hate to say it, we're building a new school. We could build a $1 billion school. What difference does it matter if we don't have quality educators inside our school? Yeah, let's go ahead and build a $1 billion school, but it's nothing without educators inside. Also, like I said before, happy teachers means happy students. And I think we need to think of this as a big circle. The administrators need to be happy, the teachers need to be happy, the school board needs to be happy, the taxpayers, the parents, all need to be happy in a complete circle. And I don't think, if I go on, I plan on addressing that in a complete circle to make everyone happy, not just saying, hey, we need to take care of this side or that side. Everyone up here has talked about transparency. Quite honestly, I think it's a big subject and it should be addressed by all of us. Things I see that need to be addressed, the agenda that comes out before the monthly meeting. You okay, Barb?
I apologize.
No, you're good, thank you. The minutes that come out before the school board meeting, I think they need to be more detailed, more elaborate, so anyone off the street can read them and understand what's going on. It's your tax dollars. You should understand what's being talked about, what's being voted on that night. Sometimes I look at them and I have no idea what's being said on there. Should be plain and simple for everyone to understand. Bids on the school and contracts, let's do it the proper way. Let's keep politics out of this, taking care of people. The bottom line is they're sealed bids. They need to go into a sealed box. And they don't come out until you have 3 administrators and 3 school board members, and you open them. And I prefer it to be on camera. You get the cheapest bid, you get the job as long as you're a qualified contractor. And I think this should be looked at very hard. Also, I'd like to see, I'd like to make some changes. As all these school board members vote on different items, I think it should be posted online very clear so you can tell who's voting for what. And then in 2 years, when it comes up for new school board members, you know how to vote. And I think this is not about, asking people to be honest. It's making people honest by doing this with the bidding process. And I think we need to be more fiscally responsible with the money. Think about it. If you wanted to put an addition on your house and you didn't have the money, would you be putting an addition on? You got to treat this money as if it was your money. There's things that need to be done, and there's things that sometimes we're going over the top with. The money needs to be spent in a wise manner. You guys, as the taxpayers, should be questioning this and looking at it, stating, okay, this needs done, that needs done. I elected this individual, I'm going to go talk to him, and we need to have an ear to listen to what you guys are saying. And also, I think we should take a survey for the taxpayers on their input for the school and the improvements. How many of you guys here had any input on the school? We get rid of taxpayers. I think everyone here needs to have some kind of say. I think we need to control our spending. We're chasing good people out of this township. I know a lot of my neighbors are elderly or widows, and they made comments to me over the last couple months that, hey, it's getting hard to live here. We've been a resident for 50 years. You're chasing us out with the school taxes. At least control them. I know that the school taxes got to go up. They have to. We need to spend money, but we need to really regulate how we're spending it, because we are chasing a lot of good people out of the township, both townships and the borough right now. With that being said, I'd like to say I do have a 13-year background in construction. I think it's beneficial to get on the board and be part of that committee for building the school and kind of give my opinion or my professional opinion in some of the trades I was in of what is going on. I think that would be very valuable being on the board. And safety, I can't stress this enough. I think safety comes without even saying, I don't think there's a dollar amount we could put on safety in the schools. If elected, I think one of the main things I would ask for from every board member is to immediately get metal detectors on the school, or more advanced technology for the school that they're coming out with. I think they find density on people versus a metal detector. I would like to be proactive, not reactive, because once there's a shooting in a school and we lose someone, you're not bringing them back. And who wants to go down that road and take that chance? Let's be proactive now. Let's make sure our kids are safe. Let's make sure our schools are safe. And it comes down to the police as well. We want our police to be safe. Why should we be put into that? Because we let a kid sneak a gun into the school. I definitely think that's something that everyone should consider. All the running mates tonight, I think that is a big issue coming forward, and I will mention it if elected. And I'd just like to say, everyone here, I think we're making good candidates. I look forward, if I get on, to working with any individual here, and also Jamie Evans, who could not make it tonight. But I would like to say, on my ticket is Margaret Morgan, Rick Cummings, Jamie Evans. They're on my ticket. Listen, you need 5 votes to get things done. There's 4 there. I'm pulling for the individuals on my ticket. But like I said, everyone here is a good candidate. Once again, like I said, my name is Dan Novosek, and I hope you consider me for school board. Thank you.
Yeah, so Ken, what I'll do is, if you're approaching, I'll let you know when you have 2 minutes. Okay?
So if I get to like an hour.
Yeah.
Shut up.
You were at 13 minutes.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. My name is Ken Monick. I come here tonight as a 1996 graduate of Elizabeth Ford High School. I'm a parent of 4 kids. My father was a graduate class of 1975. And how did I get involved in where we're at tonight? 3 years ago, I started participating in a local club at the Carriage Inn. It meets once every Thursday. It's our Rotary Club, and it's where business and other professionals in the community, they get together and they discuss ways to evolve our community outreach to those less fortunate. And in those meetings, I met with 2 young ladies, Donna Schultz, rest her soul, she's no longer with us, and Dorothy Wyckoff. And I began engaging with them after the meetings, and we really had a chance to sit down and talk about like her participation in the school board. And I became very curious about the school board and where it was going. And then, you fast forward a couple of years, and the Facebook chatter begins to really pick up. And I see from a friend of mine who lives over at Greenhouse, they're consolidating the schools. And I'm like, where did that come from? And I just felt like that moment right there, like I'm in a club with a school board member. We meet on a pretty regular basis. I never heard anything about it. Like, that's a pretty monumental event in some ways by how they're talking about it being done. That can't be true. And then fast forward a couple months later, and that's really what's happening. Here we are today. But if you really know a lot about the history of Elizabeth Forward, I mean, we've been kind of consolidating now for 40 years. I moved in here as a young boy with my parents in 1st grade, and I was scheduled to go to Yawk Elementary School in 1984. So that was 41 years ago. And 41 years ago in the summertime, we got a letter that said, hey, you're heading on home. So, I mean, really, that was step 1 of consolidation. Why the population was shrinking, the enrollment was going down. And then you fast forward 10 years later in Elizabeth Elementary School, the same thing happens. So We began 41 years ago, and then 10 years later, to close our community schools. And again, just unique experiences I had. My oldest daughter, she's in the class of 2021 graduate. And when she was, we lived in the community in Buena Vista, where I grew up. She went through kindergarten at Mount Vernon Elementary School. And here we go again, history repeats itself. Mr. Honig, Alexa's going to be heading to Greeno next year. Well, what do you mean? We live in the Mount Vernon community. Well, we think it would be better. The class sizes are continuing to shrink. Let's go ahead and put 2 classes at Greeno, K through 2, and then we'll move 3 through 5 over to Mount Vernon School. Again, the consolidation has been happening for a long time. If you really think about it, again, 41 years this community has been paying taxes, operating schools, paying educators, and here we are now, we're still consolidating. But a lot of the stuff that's happening right now, to Mr. Novosak's point, it's like, I feel like as a member of the community, even somebody who's pretty involved, I don't always know what's going on. So that kind of gets into, like, as a parent, things that are frustrating or things that, you learn and you have to work a little harder than you would like to learn about that consolidation. So when I decided to run for school board, I thought I needed to pick basically some ideals that I would run on, and those things were trust, related to transparency, safety and security, related to a couple things I'll talk about, and then I really thought it was important, based on my experience with my kids, for teacher advocacy. So with the trust thing, I go back to the very first thing I talked about, which is we've been doing consolidation for 41 years. So using conservative numbers, what does that mean? That means for 41 years, if you're conservative with how much tax money has ran through Elizabeth Fuller School District, we've probably spent $1.5 billion in 41 years educating our kids and maintaining the same buildings. What's the difference in $1.5 billion between the day I walked into Mount Vernon in 1984 and if we all go over right now and go into that building? Really not much. I mean, the building itself is pretty much the same. Is that a good thing? I say no. And now we get into this monumental moment where we're going to borrow 8 to 10% of that for a project. And we're just going to trust, after 41 years of not improving the buildings, that it's going to improve now with limited information, like I'm finding about it on Facebook. It's something that is troubling to a parent. It doesn't mean that there's not the right answers, but we're not going to need to be in communicating that to the community. So if I was on the school board, I think some things that could ease that would be more forums with parents, maybe PTO moms on an advisory board. I talked about it on Facebook, for those of you who follow me or friends with me. We're at the school board meeting in positive environment, lifting up our kids, talking about the evolution of our esports programs at the middle school and at the high school. Wonderful. Moms are pulling weeds and ordering kickballs at the Greeno PTO. There's a disconnect there. It's unacceptable. But it's not because the school board doesn't care. It's because the school board doesn't know. And then you go to a meeting, a very big meeting, like the meeting we had the other day. Excuse me. And we get our first presentation with a lot of slides for a lot of the community on the phase 1 project concluding and the phase 2 project beginning. And a school board member at the very beginning of the meeting, a school board member, the most informed person in our community on what's going on, asks a very simple question. Will the classrooms be completed before we put a dugout in a ball field? And after 2 hours, I don't feel that question was answered. And that's, again, was there a reasonable answer? There probably was, but it wasn't communicated. So if you're a parent, you're like, what the heck's going on here? We have the assets in our community with trust to have groups like this. We get, 50 people in here tonight that are curious about what's going on. Imagine if we did something like this leading up to phase 1. I'm a candidate for school board, but I'm not going to go house to house or friends and family and say, lower taxes. I'm I'm going to stop the consolidation because I feel that's just misinformation to try and hook a mom or a dad who's worried. And it's really not true. Phase 1 is complete. $61 million. We borrowed $20 million in bonds. Phase 2, approximately $41 million. We borrowed $40 million. Is it responsible at this point to say, in January, if I get in office, I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to keep the schools open? No, I mean, at that point in time, I probably am engaging in rhetoric to only hook people with bad information that don't have genuine output. So what needs to happen now? I know, in my opinion as a dad, I saw the slide in that presentation that night that made me panic. A nice little tiny school surrounded by Olympic Park, okay? And it immediately made me think to myself, what is going on here? When did we become the community of athletics and recreation, and education seems to be becoming like not as important? Because that seems to be the mistake of some of our local communities. We can't let it be a mistake when, like I said, 41 years, $1.5 billion, let's borrow 8 to 10% of that, do this project, and then it turns into a ball field project? No way. Have we asked our teachers how many plugs they get in their classroom? Have we thought about how many parking spaces we need for athletic events at the current football field, at the swim meets, at these auditoriums? That's the stuff that's important to me as a dad. I don't care about, I'm sorry, myself as a dad, I'm not concerned about another ball field here in the township. I'm not concerned about another pickleball court in the township. I'm concerned about the classrooms that my kids are going to be educated in for the next 12 to 14 years, and the teachers that are teaching them that have the tools to do their job. All that other stuff doesn't matter to me. So that's the trust thing. The safety, it can kind of be construed in another way, but I just want to say, from the safety perspective as a parent, we are going to be busing children from Forward Township to Central Elementary School, from Elizabethboro to Central Elementary School. A mom and dad does not want to hear that a person did a computer-generated model to get them from point A to point B. What I think a parent would want to hear is this. We spent some money, we took 2 weeks in the summertime, we ran dry bus rides with teachers on them, bus riders on them. Here's a chart of our timetables. This is what we're looking at. For the Green Oak parents that are concerned, I sit them down with the Blaine Hill parents. Guess what, everybody? We've been busing Blaine Hill kids to William Penn now for years. It's a similar distance, a similar ride. Those two groups together could maybe ease the concern of the parents, but we're not doing that. We're just telling the parents it's going to be okay. We did a computer-generated model. It's going to be all right. You can't do that. And then from a safety perspective, like right now, I have 3 elementary school kids. They think it's the funniest thing in the world. I'm sure the teachers are saying all day long. You know, that's their life. It's funny, right? What are those kids going to be doing if they're unsupervised from an elementary school to a high school on the same bus? Those are the things that I'm worried about from a safety perspective. So what are we doing with STA, our busing company? Are we going to put a monitor in the middle of the bus? Are we going to separate the kids from the traditional elementary school kids to the high school kids? We need to tell our community that. If I'm on the school board, that conversation will happen in public. We will invite parents. We will visit PTO meetings. We will be more active in the groups where the parents have concerns. From a security aspect, I'll be brief. The most effective security plan is the one least discussed in public. So, just like our finance director did in that meeting that I talked about, he put $1.4 million aside for cyber school increases in the next budget. Wonderful. Give me the exact same bullet point that says $1.4 million for upgrades and security in our schools. You guys probably know what I do in my regular day-to-day job. I would love to say our only concerns are traffic in and out of the schools. And at the ball games, tell the kids, like, don't storm the field. But that's not the times we're in now. It's a very challenging time in the law enforcement community. It's a very challenging time in our education community, and we need to be in touch with that. I'm stopping for you guys. The very last thing I want to talk about is teacher advocacy. I don't care how nice of a school we build, to other people's credit. We have to make sure we have the right people inside of it. And we can't dismiss how important that is. Again, from a dad's perspective, my third grader, she has come home on times at Christmas break and been very upset because, Central Elementary School has incredible depth in their teaching, their staff. I love them. And, some of the support staff, by Christmas time, they're going to Southport, TJ, Ringgold, and we have to come up with a solution for that. We need the best in our classrooms. We need to be fiscally responsible how we achieve that. But again, those are the things that we tell our teachers that are important to us before a blade of grass is laid on the ball field. And if we lose track of that, we lose trust of the community. So again, I'm Ken Honig, running for school board on November 4th, and I would really like your support if my ideals and my philosophies align with yours. I'm a parent, it's important to me, and I look for, if you cannot get a hold of me, you're not trying. I'm out in the community every single day, even on the weekends, so I'd love to talk to you if you have any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thanks again, Dan. Appreciate that. So, good evening. My name is Rick Cummings. Before I get started, I wanted to thank and recognize a few people here. First, Bobby, Eric, thank you very much for making this opportunity here. Community engagement is wonderful. I would love for all of you and then some to come to the school board meetings to be able to hear this stuff and be engaged. I do see a lot of people here that I recognize and do appreciate that, but I would like to see more. It helps with the message of communication. It does. Next, I'm going to take a moment to recognize a couple other people, and this is important to me. Chad Licht, Mason Markland, Ryan Heminger, Josh Giron. They didn't make it through the primary, but it doesn't mean that they don't care. They've been part of this school for a while. Chad's taken a very approach of making information available, which has helped drastically. Mr. Heminger has been part of the school board for the last 10 years. He's done great things. He's been part of a lot of the opportunities we've been presented, and I just think it goes without going any further, making sure that the appreciation is there. It really is. This is a very selfless position. They're here to make the betterment for the betterment of our district, as am I. I'm very hopeful that young talent here, Mr. Licht, Mr. Markman, take consideration and run again in 2 years, because I think that it would be beneficial to have new ideas. They graduated from this school, they have thoughts, they have opinions that should be heard. That said, there's 6 of us for 4 open seats. I've spoken to every person on this board, this panel, I should say, including Mr. Evans, which unfortunately isn't available this evening. But it's important to understand and make this information available. You're going to hear me repeat this stuff over and over again. Understanding where Ms. Morgan, Ms. Blackoff, Mr. Honig, Mr. Novisak, and Mr. Evans are is important. Why is it important? Because, I've invested a lot of time into this district. It's very important to me. No, I did not go through EF. My children have. I've lived here for 17 years, almost 18 with my wife. We, take an interest in here. We have a vested interest. We appreciate what this school has done for us, these teachers have done for us. I'm going to get into that a little bit further as we continue to go on. So, like I said, my wife and I have been here for 17 years with 3 children. All 3 children have attended or attending kindergarten through 12th grade. We have a vested interest in this district, and I'd like to talk about them for a second here, and why this is important to me. This is my proud dad moment. So our daughter's a graduate of EF, academically distinguished scholar. That's a 4.0 or higher GPA for all 4 years in high school. That right there is a testament to our teachers and their capabilities, and the willingness to work with students that are going above and beyond. If your students want this, the teachers are there to help them. They're there to educate them. They're one of our greatest assets here. She's attending Cal U for business management as a major and legal studies as a minor. We're going to talk about this later in the presentation, so I'm going to repeat myself here a little bit. But her taking advantage of the AP courses that we have here, it's a 4-year degree with a major and a minor that she's completed 3, because the AP classes and the tests that she's taken that are available from our school district. so that she can, move out into the world a whole year before everybody else. And I'm proud of that. I think that just goes to show our school district is really on the map. We're really, thankful and supportive of our education here. Our eldest son, he's on track to be with his big sister. Graduates high school this year. Again, to this point right now, best I know anyway, he's been academically distinguished since freshman year as well. We have very high standards for our children. We're accountable for what the decisions they make and how they operate. Our youngest son, we call him a red kid affectionately. We're not sure what he's going to do. He pretty much tells us what he's going to do. So we'll see how that pans out. But again, he's doing very well in 6th grade. He's in the middle school now. Loves to jump from elementary to things that he's learned from his peers, from our teachers, and apply them in school to be able to broaden his horizon a little bit more. I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to offer for us. What is a school board member? I was thinking about this earlier today. And I went out and I did a little bit of research, and it says a school board member, well, it's a board, a board director is elected, unpaid public official, a member of a local school board, the legislative body that governs the public school district. Directors are responsible for policy, approving the budget, hiring superintendent, ensuring the district operates in the best interest of students in the community, according to state and federal laws. I was appointed to this board in 2017, and to the best of my ability, I've made sure that I've abided by what this definition is. I've tried to make information available the best I can by reaching out if I couldn't find it to make the best informed decision. And I truly believe that I have done that. And I, God willing, approve if we make it through the general here, and we'll continue to do that because we live here. We want to make sure that we're doing the best for our students, for our teachers, for our community. Okay, so, before I can talk about our future here, I think it's important to understand our past. Like I said, I was appointed to the board in 2017. When that had happened, we weren't in the best financial state. This is true. Approximately $3.2 million in debt. Fund balance didn't look very healthy. Capital improvement funds didn't look very healthy. But, we made it work. It's very hard to propel our district forward with minimal funds. Of our budget, we only control 16%, 18% of our budget. The rest of it is payroll, overhead, things of that nature. It makes us hard to do things. But we've made great strides with the little bit of funds that we've had. Over the past couple of years, you've noticed the football field, the multi-purpose field, the soccer field, whatever it's being used for that particular evening. We have, it's new, it's nice. I was part of that committee to make sure that, we got the best product there. We have not to go into too much detail as I could, but, we've increased the filling on that field from 4 pounds to 8 pounds per square foot. Why does that matter? Well, doing the research, less concussions, less injuries, less, our kids aren't going to have any, less prone to, susceptible to injuries. Doing some of that research, and having that field, it's a good asset. It's a good community involvement for football games, soccer games, whatever, track. We've invested some time and money into the track, same type of thing here. We've also increased our tax collection rate. For a period of time, school taxes were, in the mid to high 80s. We didn't really go after people who didn't pay their taxes. We didn't. We do now. We have a third-party consultant that works with the school very closely and working with people to make sure that the taxes are being paid. We're approximately 92% now, which is great. It's additional funds, to help us with what, our future needs are. I could talk for hours on just the things that we've done great. One of the things that we've noticed is our students in high school would go to Steele Center for their junior and senior year. Why are they not going to their sophomore year? This helps set them better up for life. That discussion with our board came to the conclusion they do good for 3 years now. This gives them the tools needed and the skill sets for them to be able to be better in the world, in the real world, and it sets them up sooner than happening later. safety and security is a big thing too. As Mr. Honig mentioned, there's certain things that we can't talk about. We can't. We don't want to, say what the security policies are on certain things because we want to make sure that those policies are enacted if they need to be enacted. But what I can tell you that we have done is we've enforced safety officers in our school. Every single one of those safety officers are an armed guard of sorts that have had minimum of 20 years experience in whether it be police, state police, some of them have military experience, some of them have been working with our federal government and Secret Service. These gentlemen, in the event of an instance happening, are running towards the problem to help neutralize it versus away. Every single one of them, I couldn't speak highly enough, every single one of them, I've talked with them, they have the kids' best interest in mind to make sure that your kids, our kids, my kids are safe in those schools. And it does really make me feel, comfortable. We've done additional things, the mouse traps. What's a mouse trap? Well, a mouse trap is when you go into middle school, elementary school, there's an area where you walk into and you are secured in that area. What does that do? It prevents somebody who shouldn't be in that school to go any further without proper authorization. Our schools are very engaged in making sure that the security is available. Makes me feel a little bit better. Should make you all feel a little bit better too. Why should it? Should also make you feel better that a lot of these were done in-house. Instead of contracting these things, we're being fiscally responsible by engaging our director of finance, he has a skill set to be able to do this. It saves us a ton of money. We're making the dollar go as far as possible. I think these are important. These are fiscally responsible decisions that happen that really don't get credit. Going back to the safety officers for 1 second, I didn't mean to backpedal, but engaging these folks, they have their health insurance from their prior job, so we don't have to incur that cost. These are some of the things that help them support us, and we work with them regularly. I can't speak enough about our teachers. We have a blue ribbon school. It's fantastic. We have, League of Innovative Schools, our middle school, Apple Distinguished School. We're nationally recognized. These things don't happen because they just, grow into them. These are decisions and choices that are made from the board, from input from our administration, from input from our teachers that propel us forward. We are moving in the right direction. And a lot of times we are setting the record. We are pretty cutting edge. I'm going to speak with that here in a minute. Our district has been through a lot in the last few years. The state of the nation was in the duress. We had the pandemic that came through. It's a very serious and sensitive time. We have the responsibility for these students, along with the teachers and personnel, to ensure that they're safe, and we have to make sure that we can continue to educate our students. By having this infrastructure at this iPad, being a technologically advanced school, having our teachers who are well versed in the technology to be able to continue to educate with this technology it's unheard of. These teachers, they don't get enough recognition. It's true. But our students are able to shift gears almost as a switch, as flip as a switch. And we missed one day. One day we missed where we took the Monday off, figured out what the best plan of attack is. Tuesday, we had virtual instruction. I know virtual instruction is not the most desirable way of educating, but it allowed us to keep learning. It allowed our kids to keep going. It allowed them to be able to not have to go to school in the middle of summertime, not fall behind, and our teachers went above and beyond to make sure that the individual time that was needed was available. Because of that, again, we've had other schools call us during this time to say, how are you guys doing this? What are you doing? What does your technology look like? We need to do this. We've had, and this isn't just local. Schools in different states calling us because we were able to shift gears very quickly to be able to make sure that education is continuing. The high school fire. Tragedy struck our district, no doubt. But, the most important takeaway with this is no one got hurt or injured, which is great. That's going to be hard. I'll talk quickly. We should take a moment here to recognize our emergency response team, our fire department, our EMS, our junior firemen putting out a fire to the school that they go to. These people here, they're thanked very thankful for them to be able to neutralize the situation as quickly as they did. Kind of going to skip around a little bit here to cover a couple other things. I'm just going to talk about the most important thing with our future. There's a variety of other stuff here. If you guys would like to talk about it later, I'd be happy to. But, the important thing is, and the whole reason we're here tonight is to talk about what are the next steps for our school. The conclusion of phase 1 is coming. Phase 2 is on the horizon. The RFPs and they're due next month, and the decision to continue with phase 2 are going to be done next month. I've been on the board for 9 years, and I support the motion with moving to complete the phase 1. These kids deserve to have a good infrastructure. They deserve to have a place that they're proud of. And again, I'm trying to be short here, but as far as phase 2 goes, I support phase 2. I've not wavered in that from the very beginning, and the information that has been provided to me shows that it's a good, financially responsible, educationally responsible decision. Getting these kids into a more concise school district is going to allow us to get 3-4 schools off of Cumberland Borough School off of our books. It's $3 million approximately every year that we are not going to have to keep the lights on for these schools. We're going to be able to invest that back in the money that we borrow. The money that we borrow these bonds are callable bonds, so that we can consolidate them and we can apply them to the principal so that the loan has been shortened. And I think that's important. We're thinking long term, and there's a lot of details that I can speak with that support this information. Our director of finance has provided this information to us. He has demonstrated how this plan works. I fully believe we have to believe in our administration and the information that we're getting. We're aligned with it. I support it. What are we going to do with the schools here? I'll wrap up right here. What are we going to do with the schools after the consolidation? It's an interesting discussion. My opinion, they need to be off our books as quickly as possible. I would like to engage, whether it be some sort of a vendor or a supplier or somebody who would be interested in purchasing these buildings. For instance, we have a school right down here in the industry that is now facing car buying. Is that another opportunity for businesses to be in our district? What I do not support is leaving these buildings sit vacant for a certain amount of time. We don't want a dilapidated building inside of our district. We don't want to have, a building bring down the costs of the value of our homes. That's not what we're doing. If it comes to it, I do support the demolition of these buildings to repurpose them for whatever needs to be happening so we can continue to move forward and make a better district for ourselves. There's a lot of things I'm leaving out here just because of the instance in time, and here I was nervous about speaking. But, we had a tragedy. That's okay. The tragedy that we've had, think about this. We've taken a tragedy and we've made it an opportunity. We are going to be able to put our district further ahead now than we ever have. And I truly believe that this is the next step for our district. And I'll yield the rest of the time here to everybody still, but I'm open for questions, comments afterwards if there's any input. Thank you.
If you don't mind, everybody, I have a walker, I can't stand real good. Okay, if you don't mind, I'd like to sit. Bob gave me permission. Anyway, so my name is Dorothy Wyckoff. I'm sure most of you know me. And I'm not going to talk as long as Rick. I mean, he's very passionate. Most of the stuff with Rick, I do agree with. Rick and I, on the board, I have to tell you, the board that we have now, it's the best board I've been on. Other than Megan, I've been on the longest. Megan's 2 years with them. But we've had our problems over the times, but it gets along. I mean, I would be proud to serve with him. Truly. And I want to talk a little bit about the family history that my family, my husband's family has been in the, our farm has been in this district for over 200 years. It's been my husband's family. My family located here 60-some years ago, never left. Every one of my kids, my brother's kids, my in-laws graduated here in 1933, and we still got kids going through the district. My brother just had twin boys. They bought a house in Fort Township. We're invested, and my husband bought our last 2 pieces of real estate, or our cemetery plots up there at Round Hill. We bought them 20 years ago, so we're staying. We're not going anywhere. We want, and I do believe that most of us want what's right for the district. You get your deal makers and you just gotta play with them. What are you gonna do? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not a good speaker. I'm just gonna speak from the heart about this stuff, and you know, everybody just needs to pay attention to what's going on in the district and stuff like that. But I have to tell you, I've been in politics for 35 years, and there's been some things ago over the years. And just sometimes, just everybody pay attention. It's all you gotta do. It's all you gotta do. And I have to tell you, this administration, although they get beat up, our board president and other leaders get bored. That's why I always wanted to be a worker. I do not want to be in charge of anything. I have the fear of public speaking. That's why I'm rambling here probably. But I always tell people, I can't do this, but you come sit on my porch and I'll BS to you all day long. And I won't lie to any of you. None of you. Although I've been lied to a lot in this election. I just want to tell you that. But I'm not going to play these games with these people any longer. I'm afraid. I'm no longer afraid of dirty politicians. I'm no longer afraid of, I was never afraid of snakes, spiders, or any of that. I'm afraid of this, public speaking. So I'm going to let myself off the hook. If you want to know anything, I'll talk to you one-on-one. I'll talk to you after this. I have notes here. They're gone. I'm sorry. That's just not me.
It could be done.
Thank you. We want to hear from Margaret.
I'd like to go the same route, but I think I should speak. So, thank you. Thank you for all the candidates that are here. And we do have a video from Jamie Evans that will play apparently when I'm done, because he is working. But anyway, my name's Margaret Morgan. I'm running for the school board. I'm very honored to be standing here with you today. And again, thank you to Bobby and Eric for organizing this event, and more importantly, for those that showed up and for those that are watching on Facebook. A little of my background: I am an EF graduate. I married my husband 29 years ago. We have one son. They have both also graduated from Elizabeth Forward. I'm a believer in community service. I'm currently the president of the Women's Club of Elizabeth, a 100-year-old organization that is dedicated to giving back to the community. I was also senior regent of the Women of the Moose, which again is another organization that gives back to the community. Tonight we've been asked to share our visions and goals for the school district with the public. I believe we need leaders who can be creative, transparent, and strategic with every hard-earned taxpayer dollar. First, I'd like to just share some data regarding the current high school project. In February of '24, the district put out a plan for $27 million to rebuild the auditorium, the mechanics room, and build a new gym. This was to be paid for with insurance money, the fund balance money, and a $10 million bond secured in 2023. I do have to read from my notes, I'm sorry about that, because I don't want to miss something. In July of 2024, the board approved that same $27 million project became a $74 million project. Same project, new gym, new auditorium, new mechanic room, and also HVAC upgrades to the high school building. In 5 months, the project increased $47 million with no true explanation. Mr. that was provided by the school board. Our board leadership sits in silence at meetings when the public asks questions. There are no responses. To quote the board president, it is a public comment, it is not public questions. You do not feel welcome at board meetings. When the 3-minute timer goes off, you are asked to stop speaking. We need to make the community feel more welcome and wanted at board meetings. We need to answer reasonable questions. I feel that we've been misled on a construction project, how it is being paid for. It was said to be paid for with a $10 million bond, insurance money, and fund balance. To date, the phase 1 construction, we have taken out 3 bonds. A $10 million bond in 23, a $10 million bond in 24, and most recently, a $54 million bond. Our current debt is now $167 million. The repayment is taking 32 years to 2057. Obviously, a project was needed. The fire destroyed our auditorium and caused damage to other areas of the school. The school board moved forward with what they felt was the best option for the district. Our students deserve safe, modern, accessible buildings. Our teachers deserve classrooms that support their work, but there needs to be a balance with what the taxpayers can afford. If elected, my goals are to ensure the renovation project is financially responsible, making sure every dollar is tracked, reported, and wisely spent. I want to work with the administration and board members to control spending while achieving a successful project. The next thing that concerns me is our budget. As was stated earlier, balancing budget is one of the core responsibilities. Again, we have 3 recent bond issues that have now put us in $167 million of debt. This is the debt schedule payment. Our debt payment for the next 3 years is being paid for with capitalized interest from a $54 million bond. We do not have the budgetary funds to make the payments. Starting in 2030, our debt payment will be $5.6 million a year. Our business office has made it very clear that we need to close the elementary schools to realize a savings of anywhere from $2.5 to $3 million a year. These savings are earmarked to offset part of that $5.6 million payment. The current board has done a great job in increasing the collection of delinquent taxes. The township commissioners are working on getting abandoned properties back on the tax rolls. We must analyze our budget and eliminate any unnecessary spending. As Mr. Cummings said, there's a very small portion of our budget that can be looked at. There are so many fixed costs. But the answer cannot always be to continue to raise the taxes every year. We can't keep spending what we don't have. If elected, I would like to be put on the budget committee and again work with the administration on controlling spending. At this point, truly, I have felt that that is an answer to anybody getting on the board, or anybody who's still sitting on the board, that that's what we can do is try to control spending. That is our true option. The other hot topic has been talked about here is the consolidation. I believe the school board doesn't want to close the neighborhood schools, but we must act responsibly to protect the future of our district. Phase 2, which includes the closing of Green Oak, Mount Vernon, and William Penn, went out for bid October 10th. The decision to close these schools was actually decided back in February 2024 in the PowerPoint presentation. The problem that I have with the reconfiguration is the limited community input and the lack of information being put out by the district. I agree with Ken and Mr. Hardy. Did anybody go to the school PTO meetings to inform the parents of the upcoming changes? Where is the data showing the savings for closing the school? Where is the plan for the empty buildings? There are a lot of questions with few answers. The closing of the schools is going to happen. It is part of phase 2 and is slated to be voted on next month. The RFPs are out for bid, and work has already been done at the high school for phase 2 addition. There was an informational meeting held October 8th. Bid RFPs were issued October 10th. Unfortunately, that gives the perception that the public's input had no impact on the decision. It was made. To be clear, I have been for consolidation. When I previously sat on the board, I talked with the administration about a possible consolidation back then. It was obvious years ago that we had a declining student population and changes would have to be made. My goals are to ensure the parents of young students being transported to Central Elementary that we keep the promise of the school board to design express routes to make their bus ride as short as possible. Once completed, there will be a major transition from kindergarten to 8th grade. We need all stakeholders to welcome the changes and work together so that we are successful as a community, school district, and school board. Working together doesn't mean we always agree. It means we listen and find common ground. We build on shared values. We need to focus on what unites us. When we work together, we are stronger, more resilient, and more capable of facing whatever challenges come our way. We need to work together for the children of our community. As you know, I am running with Mr. Cummings, Mr. Novosek, and Mr. Evans. We do not always agree, but we will work together and work together for you. I thank you for your time and your support.
Thank you. Rick is going to get Jamie's presentation for you guys. He's going to bring it up. It's going to be hard to watch for people in the back, but we will put the microphone close to the speaker so you can at least hear that.
Chad actually has a copy of it, and he will be posting it as well. So if you want to watch it, you want to see Jamie's face while he talks, and you can't see him, you can do it online later. So if you want to start that, where's your speaker?
I just want to give a short video to everybody to see about what my thoughts are on some of these items that are going on and coming about in the district. They are important. The project, the school project and consolidation, the updates to our school, the things that happened to bring us to this point, they are much needed. Our schools they're very old, they need a lot of work, and we all know that. And we've moved forward in some things that are very cost heavy on the burden to the taxpayer and to all of us, which are taxpayers also. I'm not sure where I lie right now with seeing the money and the district and everything that's going on, and as we progress. I do want to see the project go forward. I want to give something nice back to the community for years that can be used with our upcoming EF Warriors for years to come. But the heavy money is also something that weighs on me, that burdens us into the future and beyond. You have to have money or somewhere close to the money to pay for this. And at this point, even though we were able to recover ourselves and put us on a good track, we don't have that money. And the costs that take us forward and project into the future, they double with what the project actually costs. Yes, that's the cost of doing business. I realize that. We all realize that. But is it too much? Is the question that I fight with right now. Those are things as the numbers come in, I'm going to have to weigh in on and think heavily and understand that if I can push my vote, if I'm lucky to sit on that board again, towards the finish of it. Another part of that is taxes. In the past, I have an understanding that taxes do go up. They have to go up. Costs change. Salaries change. Things that are needed within a district or our government entity change. They go up. That's just what happens. I have voted for tax increases, and I have voted against tax increases. I don't believe that we need to raise taxes every single year to index or higher. My thought processes go into this is if my own parents lived here, which they do, is it a possibility I could tax them out of their home? That's how I look at that, and I don't want to do that. I want to give us something that we're proud of in this community, but I don't want to push people that are good people from the community either by consistent raises because we didn't look at some other avenue of funding or even financial cuts. You can't just increase and never look the other direction and say, well, how can we decrease? Do we have to really raise this? Can we absorb it somewhere else? There are all kinds of avenues, and I guess as I've gotten a little older, you start to think about that, and you have different values that understand that you have to look different ways to make it work. And not that I believe that anybody isn't doing that on our board, or people that are coming into the board won't. It's just my perception on things. Part of our thing for this election has been our mascot. I believe in what the shirt I'm wearing. I believe in that warrior right there. It's where I grew from. It's where I graduated from. It's where a lot of us did. That doesn't make a difference if you're not from here, but that's just my beliefs that we need to save that. We need to push that into the future and not erase that symbol from our history. History is key, and it's who we all become, and it's how we learn. When we erase or try to erase or change history, then we make the same types of mistakes, even worse, when you come back around. And not that a mistake is made by doing that, it's just that's who we are. We're the warriors, and we've been the warriors, and we're old Betsy, and this is where we're at. And I want that to be going forward. I don't want some mellowed out, politically correct symbol that doesn't represent us. That's just my belief in the system. As anything, I'm always open to talk about that. You don't learn anything by not talking about it. You can disagree with somebody and still have a good conversation about it. So another item I want to touch on is our campaign. Our campaign and our support. You can realize and see through the primaries and through the general election that our campaign has been very straight from the beginning. We are a group of 4 individuals, myself, Dan Otis, Edward Cummings, and Margaret Morgan. We are a group of 4 people that came together and got the support of our support factor, Andrew Quisling, which we all view to be a pretty decent person. We may not always see eye to eye on everything like anybody else, but the decency is there. Our 4 have maintained a clean election process also. We told everybody from the beginning who we were and who supported us. We didn't try to hide behind anything. And that's what I like. We didn't launch any nasty campaign ads against anyone. We didn't take articles out in the paper. We didn't get on social media and try to draw conclusions for people and throw that little toothpick in there to make people believe something else. There are no promises coming from our campaign for positions, which I've heard, solicitors from which I've heard, superintendents from which I've heard, all these hearsay things you hear in the background. I look at you now through video and tell you, from my knowledge, 100% false, and put out there for you to believe something else. That's just how I feel and what I know. And I think I pretty much know most of how we are as candidates. We are differing. We are not always going to be voting alongside each other and saying yes to each other. And that's one thing you don't want because true leadership brings people into a room with differing opinions and walks out of it with the best solution for either its employment, its community. Well, you have to be able to bend and you have to do what's right. And sitting around in a room, listening to 1, 2 people and always just saying yes to them is not getting to your best conclusion anywhere you're at or anywhere in life. We've all come to know this, right? Our campaign has been straightforward. We haven't hid behind anything. Anybody who has seen me or seen my other ticket partners have talked to us. You've gotten to know us and you see that. And I understand that some people think certain things, but I can tell you, the 4 people on this ticket, we didn't have to be talked into running by anybody. And there is purpose behind that statement. We weren't colluded with to run for the school board. And nor have we thrown out anything negative towards anybody. The facts are what they are. And the people here, we all know each other. When I look at myself, I can say this: I'm not always right, even though sometimes I think I am. I'm not always wrong either. And I don't go along with things once I think that, or know, or have suspicion that it's just not where I think it should be. I need more information, I need more talk. I sat on the other side with people in that same boardroom. And I went along with things for years and had the same agreements. And it's not necessarily a go along, so I had the same type of views and I thought certain ways. I don't render the same opinions. Call it wisdom and age, call it whatever you want. I just don't. I'm gonna make the best decision I believe, as I've brought kids through this district of my own, that I believe that they would respect and appreciate, and things that others would respect and appreciate. We don't need to be negative in this campaign, even going into this general election. But I can tell you that not everybody's been honest. The support that comes from the other side, if you can research, and I will just give you fact, you can research who supports them. And you need to ask yourself, why? You need to ask yourself why sitting board members would support those persons against other city board members. And that's been the way it has been from the beginning. Myself and the other incumbent school board member were pushed to the outside because we just did not go along with the program and say yes to everything. We asked questions, and it wasn't liked, I guess. And I'm all right with that, because if you don't like me asking questions, that really sparks my radar. And what everyone in this room viewing this video can take from this is, you don't need to like me. You don't need to agree with me. But you can sit down and we can have a talk. And at the end, maybe I agree with you, or maybe you agree with my points. And that's what we should want from every single board member sitting at that table. Different-minded people that are just doing the best thing for this community that most of us grew up in, and put it into the future. I wish everyone luck in the upcoming election. I know there's 4 people that are the best people to put in this office at this venture. And that's Margaret Morgan, Dan Novosek, Rick Cummings, and myself, Jamie Evans. We will do what's right. We will ask questions. And we will make sure whatever project goes forward is financially the correct. We will look at it more in depth. And we'll do what we need to do. Oh, well, you know what? As I sit here and I'm about to end the video, school consolidation. I'm in the middle, and I can tell you why. I believe that something has to happen. It's a trend that is just occurring across our nation, and you can research that yourself, and you can look at it and see what are the benefits, what are the negatives. If we're able to do what we need to do with consolidation and save monies, and bring more security and safety in all of our students into some main areas, I can go along with it. But I have other questions. I have other questions like those properties, those buildings. When it is in with the community and they are lodged within housing districts, what do those buildings do if they sit? They bring down your property values. I don't want anybody's property values going down. I think we need to get together and we need to have a plan. If that is the way forward, then the plan has to be, maybe we start talking with some of these housing development plans. If we're gonna move forward and demolish these buildings, to get them in there to replot, to bring homes and residential growth to our district. Maybe that's the way the district has to go, because I'm not really seeing it in other avenues. We need growth, we need finances, and I have ideals like that. I'm not sure if we can go forward if we sell those properties, but we can certainly start to engage all those conversations as we go forward. Sorry if I stumbled. I'm unable, as I said, to be there because of work. And these last couple of weeks have just been a whirlwind for me. I've added myself to this community and building and property. And I've raised several wonderful children through EF, and it's my home and it's their home. And I always respect it, and I fight for it. Anybody that knows me is you will fight tooth and nail for what's right. And I wish everyone good health, and hopefully in the coming weeks, if you're pulling my name, J.D. Evans, filled in that circle on that ballot, or pressing that button on the ballot box, however it may be. If you're filling my name out, I ask you, Margaret Morgan, Dan Novosek, Cummings. Those are the 4 people that need to win to make sure that everything goes forward. Because we're about everybody. We're not about 1 or 2 people, and we're certainly not about not relinquishing power to anybody. We want to bring it to everybody and have everybody have a say. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening.
So, I just want to thank Bobby. I have the privilege of meeting with Bobby when I joined Rotary, and she's just fantastic. She donates so much of her time to this community and asks nothing in return, and it's such a privilege to put this together with her, and I thank you for that.
I thank you for wanting to do it for us. And I will tell you, we're not running for anything. I promise you, it's not happening. I did that a long time ago. It's over. But if they will welcome questions, will you, or is everybody tired? Questions? Okay. Why don't you come back up to the table, and we'll do it. Raise your hand and answer the question to who you want.
So before we start with the questions, I'm going to say a couple things. One, I want to thank you guys again individually for coming here and talking. I know it's not your day job. It's not easy to come up and talk to people. It's not. And some people are good at it, some people aren't. So it takes a lot of courage to come up here and do it. Like I said, this is a volunteer position. They are not getting paid to do this. They're just trying to help our community. So I want to thank you guys again for coming and doing it. I appreciate it very much. So I would ask that when we do our questions, we have the same type of decorum that the candidates had. Let's not go to any gotcha questions or anything else. Let's get some legitimate concerns that we have in this community. There is a lot that's going on. So some of it was addressed, some of it wasn't. So, all right, so we're gonna ask, raise your hand. I will take the microphone to you. It's not based off of like anything. I will take it to you. Let me know who you want to talk to, and we'll give the mic to that person. You can ask your question. So, Emil, since you're front and center here, who do you want to ask your question to?
Well, I don't want to ask a question. I want to address the public.
Oh, okay.
How the elections have consequences. Can I get up here and just...
Pontificate?
As long as it doesn't get too
Political. We don't want it to be political.
No, it isn't.
Okay.
I just want to say,
We want to keep it calm.
I want to bring to everybody's attention here. A couple of people here brought up some of the stuff that I'm interested in.
Okay.
Bobby Barr and Martin Morgan know me. I've been an activist in the community. I used to go to all the sewer authority meetings, the commissioners meetings, and school board meetings. But the reason I want to tell you, elections have consequences. It's really, really important. Bobby, and incidentally, I just want to tell you, I've lived in the township for 55 years. My wife has lived here for 87 years, and her relatives and family have lived here for 30 or 40 years before that. So it's a wonderful community. But I just want to tell you a couple of things. And Bobby, this will involve the school board. What they're doing right now, they wanted to do about 20 some years ago.
Well, in 1990, I joined the board, 93, 94, and 96. I made the motion, I am the school closer. I made the motion to close Greenup School. We sold Greenup School. Another board come on that following month. They bought it back, and that's why we're in this situation today. We have to go forward. We can't go backwards. It needs to be done. We have a school, K1 and 2, another school, 3, 4, 5. These kids are going to benefit by being brought together with all of the kids and all of our teachers, and learn so much more with brainstorming. And I think it's going to work. It will work.
But anyway, you mentioned one of the things that I was going to bring up about the Greenup School. The district sold the school and bought it back, 3 or 6 months later, and paid $500,000 more than what they sold it for to the individual. But that's a couple of things of that. But anyway, this has to do with the school district. And it's important who you elect, including picking a solicitor. In the last 20, 25 years, we had a superintendent who cost us district $4.5 million over a lawsuit over the school bus system. And then after that, and I don't know how many people know about this, there were 2 lawsuits that the union filed against the school district that cost the school district about $3 million each because of solicitors. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they knew what they were doing. And they lost it. The sewer system, I was involved in that. Well, this is really effective. They lost, this community is paying $45 million that they should have never had to pay under the sewer authority. It went from $25 million to $50 million. And it's all over just politics now. But it's really, really important to, you gotta have the right people in there to take care of business. I have a lot more to say, but.
Thank you, Abel. If you just want to say your name so people know who you are, and who you want to ask your question.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Myers. I teach at the middle school. I'm also a resident of Mount Vernon. I raised 2 children, my wife and I, and they're both proud graduates of BF. In fact, our teaching staff, to give you an idea of how good we are, and I mean this not so much me, everybody. My son, he was at Penn State, emailed me one day and said, "Dad, I have harder and more challenging classes at EF than I do at Penn State." Now, I'm a pick guy, so I think that reflects a part of Penn State, but what a compliment for him to say that to EF. And our teachers, the reason I'm asking the board here, and you probably know where I'm going with this, our teachers have won award after award. We have one of the top elementary schools in the country, Central, Blue Ribbon School. We're in the 13th consecutive year at the middle school, the Don Eichhorn Award, which means we're one of the top middle schools in the state. We won that 4 times. Each one's a 3-year thing. We are #1 in technology. If you think back to COVID, March 20th, 2020, Governor Wolf closed schools. We were ready to go online that Monday. In fact, the teachers were angry at Dr. Carusi, the superintendent at that time. He wouldn't let us start Monday. He said, "No, take a plan day, start Tuesday." We were ready to start Monday. My point is, we have sacrificed, under Dr. Rocco, we took a soft freeze, we took a hard freeze to help the district's finances. We've done our part. Our contract is up in June. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't expect to be paid like TJ or the South Fayette because we don't have the tax base for the businesses. We understand that. But in Allegheny County, there are 42 school districts. We are number 40 in pay. Only Clairton and Duquesne make less money than we do. And they only have 10 steps to reach the top. We have 19. I'm asking the board members, who I respect greatly, and in fact, when I retire in a few years, I'll be sitting here as I plan to run as well. I asked the board, with all the construction, and we certainly understand, are you going to have money for us? Are you going to raise that starting salary? We have lost nearly 50 teachers to other school districts. They leave because of higher starting salaries. Our starting salary is $43,000. I understand to some people that might seem like a lot, but other districts are starting in the $50,000 range. We are in the bottom 5 out of those 42 districts in starting salary. I hurt, my colleagues here hurt, when we lose a good young teacher to another school district for $5,000 or $10,000 or more. We need to raise that starting pay, and we need to raise our career rate and get those numbers, those steps down. And I urge the board, I don't know what it's going to take, God bless you all for trying, but we need to find some money for your teachers. So thank you very much.
This is supposed to be a question and answer for the candidates. So, hold on 1 second. I just want, this isn't supposed to be political in any way. This is for you guys to understand what these guys are going to do when they're on the board, okay? Like some of this stuff could be in a different venue. We don't want to waste anybody's time, you know? It would be, so I just ask that our questions are pointed to these candidates that you can find out what they're for, okay? So if you guys are okay with that, let's move forward, okay? If we continue to do that, we will stop the question and answer. Nope, it's a lie.
Okay, I got 2 quick questions, and I'm not going to take long to ask, and I'm not going to take long to answer. Anyway, I live right across the road from Greenwich School. I don't want to get an argument over what happened 30 years ago, who was right or who was wrong. But I know that school was closed for, I believe, 4 years. In the first 3 years, the school district owned it. In those 3 years, it cut the grass, I think, twice. Every window in the school was broken. They never boarded it up. They didn't do anything. I want to make sure that you people can guarantee me that that's not going to happen again. And the second question I got, I was in a meeting 2 weeks ago. Mr. Connick, you were there. Okay? And the question was asked to the superintendent, Mr. Connick, about classroom size. He gave a very long answer, and at the end of it, he said there are no studies available to tell you what is the best size classroom they have. So that makes me wonder, are we going to have larger classrooms and perhaps less teachers with this deal? Or that's all I have to ask. That's for everyone.
Does someone want to address? I know that there's no plan for right now. Does someone want to address the other part related to class sizes?
Yeah, sure. It's hard to make a comment on something that's projected in the future, speaking of Green Elementary. I do not want to see.
I mean, all of them, not just Green.
Well, I'm just citing it, as you mentioned, but yes, collectively, all of the schools. We do not want, I shouldn't say we, I want to speak for myself, I don't want to see those buildings in action. It doesn't look good, it doesn't represent us well. You know, I truly believe that we can work, you know, as the next few years transpire and phase 2 gets approved, that we work with people who are interested in purchasing it, work with, you know, maybe somebody that has a plan to do something with it, even work with the township to see if there's a repurposing availability. So whether that's with, you know, Green Oak, William Penn, or Mount Vernon, I completely agree with you. We can't go backwards on that. As far as the class sizes, we do have less students enrolled. I understand that over time, if things scale up, we need to reevaluate what the class sizes are. We've been pretty static on saying 25 is the maximum amount of students we want to have. We give the authorization to the superintendent to make the decisions on who or what classes have what amounts of students in it before they would break into another teacher to it. I still truly believe that we would be able to adjust accordingly for those situations. I don't want to see 30, 35, 40 kids in a classroom. They're not going to learn the way they need to learn. And, you know, smaller class sizes, especially in the younger age, you know, having aids available as well, I think would be the benefit from this. Does that answer your question? Okay.
I'd like to address a little bit about that. We as a board, talk about this stuff all the time. And none of us want to leave these buildings empty. We want to try to repurpose them. We want to try to do something with them. We agonize over this stuff. We do not just vote on this stuff and not talk about it. Every board member does agonize over this stuff. We don't want higher, we're not going to do that. At least not, I might not be here that many more years, but, or maybe even after that, but I'm not a higher class numbers in the class. None of us are. But sometimes some of this stuff just doesn't come down to what we want to do. It's what nobody wants to pay higher taxes, but the only way to get that is we want to pay more to our teachers. I'd pay them $1 million if I could. That's impossible. But we have to make a balance between, you know, back and forth. And I am getting a little more comfortable occasionally. But anyway, I just, no, I mean, we do agonize. Every last one of us, we talk about this, and we always have. We don't, just because it's exec session, you have to sometimes, because of legalities and things, you can't just talk about it in public, but seriously, it's not the way sometimes it's projected to be. That's not what we're saying. We do think about it.
Specifically to your question, I think, again, as a parent, if I could put together a 2-scale drawing of baseball fields outside of a brand new building where we're spending approximately $41 million. If you go to William Penn Elementary School every day, if you go to Central Elementary School every single day, there's skilled teachers there that are dealing with an increasing student base of teachers who also students who also need additional services. And as a member of the public, If I can tell you the measurements for a baseball field, I should be able to tell you the measurements for the classroom, because it's important that the teachers are going to be in there dealing with that increasing population of the students that need additional assistance.
All right, we're going to take a couple more questions. Okay. Let me get you next after I get this gentleman back here. Just say your name and...
Hi, Jason Sauer. My question is for, I'm going to pick on you, Mrs. Morgan. Mainly because the question is going to be financial in essence, and it seemed like you had your head mostly in financials along with Mr. Cummings. The main issue that I have is I work in construction. I do a lot of large projects, the Presby Bed Tower, AGH, a lot of multi-million-dollar renovations, buildings. I see the cost on the back end of some of these items. Two issues that I noticed. One being from the previous meeting, cited, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, could have heard, I could have misunderstood, misheard what we first and what we last, that the study was from 2018, number based. I don't know if you guys all know that was. My main issue with that is it's a pre-COVID number. And sure, we can extend numbers previously for inflation. That number is drastically different than what I think that those numbers were previously stated. Nobody was planning on a shutdown of that magnitude, and the far-reaching extents it still affects construction today. That coupled with the tariffs, it's a lot bigger of an issue, and my main problem is with the lack of an actual financial plan in detail. The projections, right? I want to know what happens if that number comes to be disgustingly high. What's the plan now? Because I do think that that's a possible scenario. And the second question, to a lesser extent, and say that everything does work out, we sell the buildings or have the buildings and be consolidated. The existing buildings potentially have asbestos insulation. Back in '94 when Greeno was originally sold, asbestos was still a big thing, but not nearly as the way it was treated as it is today in terms of abatement or the potential cost loss that you have by either having to cut your throat to sell the building or abating yourself. Again, just what considerations have been taken into account of things. I know, again, these are things that are really flawed, and again, because it's still just a projection, but just wanted to at least ask the question.
So your question is, what if we have cost overruns? And then what are we going to do with the asbestos? So you want Margaret to answer that?
Yeah.
Or we can open it up.
I'm with everybody, but I just wanted to pick on her.
I'd like to respond, well, thanks for your questions, but being that I haven't been sitting on the board, that I don't know the answer to a lot of that.
Sure.
And you're correct in the 2018 estimates. I'm sure it's being 2025 are very different. I do work in the wholesale distribution of building products. I know what's happened over the past year, what COVID did to the price of things, what the tariffs are now doing to the price of things. So you're absolutely correct in your statement. What will happen if these bids come back higher than what was anticipated? I don't know. I don't know what the board's plan is. But I do know that we have a debt ceiling of $23 million, so we are going to be handcuffed by whatever the project is. So again, it's all going to depend on how bids come back. Will it need to be scaled back? Possibly. Is that an option? Absolutely. As been stated by Mr. Hyde several times, there is an athletic field that encompasses the high school. If they come back too high, is that to be looked at to say, okay, we can't do it right now, we need to wait a couple years till we move forward, till we see the savings of closing the schools? So all those questions, again, for me, are hard to answer, not sitting there. I don't know if Mr. Wyckoff or Mr. Cummings can say anything, but pretty much until these bids come back, there's no true answer, I feel, to what you're asking.
Anybody else like to address that?
So I interpret your question slightly different. So the Hayes Design Group study was done during 2017. We got the results back in 2018. So that was the first year, second year that I've been on the board. There's a lot to learn, being a new board member, a lot to understand. And during that time, it was identified $119 million worth of upgrades that needed to be done. Now these upgrades weren't, in a sense, you wouldn't think, in addition to what the standard is. This is just to get to the standard. There's a lot of work that need to be done from roofs to doors, to boilers, to things in a lot of these schools, including the high school. There's a difference between cost savings and cost avoidance. So if you look at the bigger picture here, in the event that phase 2 is approved, by closing these schools down, the amount of money that we would avoid spending by just operational costs and to upgrade these buildings to get them to where they're supposed to be is avoided. So we have our maintenance director has a very heavy construction background. He has done a lot of things that have been on that list that are higher priority that we've been trying to address for some time. And I do believe that the return on investment, and looking at the big picture, by ensuring that we follow through with phase 2, to realize those savings, to apply them in a manner for completing the renovation of the high school, for building the new middle school at the high school, and most importantly, keeping our assets in a state that is appropriate. We want to be able to, we're IT, advanced. Well, we need to keep our assets in line as well, and we need to protect our assets moving forward. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
So we're going to do one more question, and the candidates will be up here. If you have another question.
Of hands. If one face pay that are not funded by the school, would the school board allow such a program to exist within the halls of their schools?
So that's just a show of hands, you don't have to answer anything.
I think that there's more to that question for an answer.
Okay.
Fellowship of Christian Athletes was one big one. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't support that moving forward. I think it's important that we have clubs or activities or things of that nature available, whether it is religious-based or not. I'm not a very religious person, just not, but I'm open-minded enough to understand that if there's a need or a want for something like that, I don't see why, it couldn't be evaluated, discussed, and, work together to some matter to find some common ground.
All right, so I'm going to ask you one more time to applaud for these candidates. It takes a lot of courage to come up here, and these guys have done a wonderful job. So I want to give yourselves an applause too for coming and caring about the community. So thank you. Like I said, the candidates will be up here. If you have any questions, please ask them.